August 22nd, 1485, the Battle of Bosworth Field. We all know the story, right? King Richard III, the last Plantagenet king, makes this heroic, desperate charge right into the heart of the enemy. He gets knocked off his horse, surrounded, and killed. His crown, famously, ends up in a hawthorn bush. It's the classic tale, the end of one royal line and the explosive beginning of the next.
But what if that story, the one we all learned, is just scratching the surface? Sure, we know the where, but the fog of war has always hidden one absolutely crucial detail. Who was the person who actually killed the king? For centuries, we've just assumed it was some random soldier in the chaos. But new research points to a very specific person, and it's not who you think.
You see, the key to this whole mystery, according to this new analysis, isn't some great knight or noble lord. No, it's a very wealthy London merchant named William Gardner. And this coat of arms you're looking at, well, that's our first big clue. It smashes together the Gardner family symbols with the royal symbols of the Tudors. This was way more than a business deal. This was an alliance, one that was about to be sealed in blood.
Now, to really get this, we have to put on our detective hats. Because our crime scene isn't a muddy field in Leicestershire. It's the dusty, seemingly boring pages of 15th century legal documents. Yeah, wills. And believe it or not, they might just hold the secret to cracking this 500-year-old cold case wide open. Okay, so this right here is the last will and testament of William Gardner. And the timing? It's everything. Look at the date. September 25th, 1485. That's just over a month after the Battle of Bosworth. So Gardner fights in the battle, comes back a hero, gets knighted, and then he dies, suddenly. This document is basically his final word. So let's meet the man, in his own words. The will kicks off with, I, William Gardner of London, Skinner, being of sound mind and in good memory. Notice how he identifies himself, not as a warrior, not as a knight, but as a Skinner, a merchant who dealt in furs and hides. He was a pillar of London's powerful business community. And as you read on, the will paints this picture of a man who's not just well off, he's a serious player. He's big in the wool trade, owns prime real estate in London, and he lays out exactly who gets what: his family, the church, even prisoners in the city jails. This guy was wealthy, deeply connected, and, by all accounts, very devout. And it's the little details that make him feel so real, you know? He leaves his wife, Ellen, all his plate, jewels, and household stuff. And to his brother, he leaves my best gown furred with martens. Suddenly, he's not just a name in a history book. He's a guy who had a family and a favorite coup.
But hidden in all this legal jargon is the one connection that changes everything. William Gardner's wife, Ellen, was actually Ellen Tudor. She was the illegitimate daughter of Jasper Tudor, who just happened to be Henry Tudor's uncle and his main strategist. This London merchant was married right into the very heart of the Tudor rebellion.
So that family connection, it's not just a fun fact. It's the anchor for a really detailed, modern analysis that builds his incredible case for Gardner being at the center of the whole thing. The researchers who put this all together used what they call a plausibility framework. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. For a massive claim, like a merchant killing a king, you can't just have one piece of evidence. You need a ton of proof from all different angles: family trees, money trails, forensics, written accounts, and it all has to point to the same conclusion. And this framework has 8 key pillars you have to satisfy. Was the guy in the right place at the right time? Did he have the right family connections? Did he have a motive, the right story, and the means, the right weapon? For a theory to hold water, it has to tick all of these boxes, not just one or two. And you can literally see the right family connection right here. On the left, that's the Gardner family crest. On the right, that's the new version after he married Ellen Tudor, now mashed up with royal symbols. You see? This wasn't just a marriage, it was a merger of merchant money and royal ambition.
So, how much evidence actually supports this whole Gardner theory? 10 points? 20? Not even close. We're talking about over 168 individual data points that all line up.
And when you visualize it like this, the argument becomes incredibly clear. The traditional story of Bosworth, the one we all know, is built on maybe 28 pieces of data. The Gardner narrative, on the other hand, is supported by over 168, and it answers way more of the questions that have been lingering around this battle for centuries.
When you put all this evidence together, it leads to a completely radical new take on what happened. Bosworth wasn't just a battle for the crown. It was a coup, engineered by merchants. Think about it.
The story we're always told is about knights and nobles and chivalry, right? And Lord Stanley is the big kingmaker with his last-minute betrayal. But this new theory says, forget that. This was a calculated business decision, a power shift, financed and executed by London merchants who saw King Richard as a direct threat to their bottom line.
So what was their motive? Simple. It was money. Richard III's policies were wrecking their trade, especially the incredibly profitable wool exports going through Calais. So they had the motive, and they definitely had the means. They funded Henry's army of mercenaries and used their financial network to back the whole invasion. And here's the kicker. Contemporary Welsh chronicles explicitly name William Gardner as the man who killed the king.
The implications of this are just enormous. I mean, if this theory is right, it doesn't just change the story of one battle. It completely rewrites the founding myth of the entire Tudor dynasty.
And check this out. How perfect is this? Sir William Gardner wasn't buried out in the country somewhere. He was laid to rest at St. Mildred's Church, right in the heart of what is now London's financial district, literally a stone's throw from the Bank of England. His final resting place is a monument to the real source of his power, commerce.
So, in the end, this research suggests that the Tudor dynasty wasn't just built on the blood of nobles on a battlefield. It was paid for in cold, hard cash on the balance sheets of London's most powerful merchants. It was a victory won not just with swords, but with pounds and shillings.
This whole new look at a pivotal moment in history just shows the incredible nation-shaping power of concentrated wealth. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If money and business could orchestrate a coup and install an entirely new dynasty back in 1485, what can they do in our world today?